You're listening to Female Founders with Claire Bartlett, the podcast that tells you what it is really like to be a female founder in today's world. We share invaluable insights through personal journeys and real-life business experiences, highlighting the highs and the lows so you can move forward in your business with ease. I am passionate to share with you the realities of business and give you the strategies and simple steps you need to truly succeed with your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have offered an amazing 50% discount on your first 3 months with them. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, just search refer.xero.com/female founders or follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to give this show a follow to make sure you never miss an episode and share it with any incredible female founders you know. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Female Founders podcast. This week, I'm super excited to have Estelle Keeber here with us, the Instagram queen who helps so many business owners really get to grips with how Instagram can help their business thrive and stand out in the crowd. So Estelle, thank you for joining us today.
You are most welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. We've known each other quite a few years now, haven't we, in business? So
We have. I don't want to remember how long because then that means that we're really getting quite old. I was thinking about this myself this morning, how long we've known each other. And I was like, no, it can't be that long because that's a really long time. So yeah, it's been a while.
I met you very early into my business journey, and I've been in business almost a decade now, which
Yeah.
makes me do indeed feel very old. But yeah, this is an absolute pleasure to sit down with you. We don't get to see each other very often anymore, so I'm excited to share your wisdom with the audience.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I was expecting for us to have a chit chat. Now I've realized I get to share some Insta goodness with you. I'm even more excited.
You do. So to start us off, I'd really love to know if you can look back and think of a pivotal moment or person in your past that has put you onto the path where you are today.
A person. Ooh, I don't know if so much there. If I said a person, it would be a really irrelevant person, but it would play into the kind of the story, I suppose, that started me on my business journey. So I would say it was more a moment, the moment that I realized, or, that things really shifted in my life was when I had to go to a food bank. So, nowadays with everything that's happened with COVID and the cost of living, it's quite common for people to be using food banks. However, we're talking, 10 years ago, and food banks were really looked at for people that were really destitute. So when I'd left my really abusive relationship, I had my 2 children, and I had literally nothing. Like their dad left me with absolutely nothing, pretty much £34 a week, which was child benefit at the time. And that was literally all I had to live on. Hence why I ended up using a food bank. And I remember going from, an agency that was supposed to be there to support me, that made me feel like a statistic, that made me feel pretty worthless. And they basically said to me, we can't help you, go to this food bank. And I remember going there with the biggest sense of dread and the feeling of failure and, overwhelm and just not knowing what was going to happen. And then to have been treated so, roughly by people who were supposed to be there to support me. I walked into the food bank and, I was literally a mess. And this woman that served me at the food bank was the most wonderful, kind, amazing human that I've ever met. At the lowest point that I probably have been at in, my life to that point, this woman just made me realize that that was a temporary situation, and that, there was no judgment on why I was there or what the reason was. She was there to support me, regardless. And in that moment, I think I realized that actually, as much as we live in a society where we are a number or we are a statistic. There are genuinely people out there that want to see other people succeed and are there to, lift other people up. And so I would say that woman, and I don't even know her name, which is insane. But, she literally made something shift in me. And I realized after that, there was nobody that I could rely on apart from myself. And that even, it comes to the government as well. There's going to be lots of people listening that have had government assistance or, help with benefits. They're supposed to be there to support you. However, it can be very, very difficult. And that's when I realized that actually I had to take control of the situation that I was in, because there was no one that was coming to save me.
Yeah. No knight on a white horse coming to rescue the day. And I think this
There
is
was no
actually,
one. I think that's why it's so important to find, your inner strength, because
yeah,
then you always feel that, you've got yourself if nobody else has.
yeah, 100%. And I think it's amazing. I wonder if that woman knows how many lives she's probably touched and really transformed. And like you say, it was such a brief conversation, you don't even know her name. And she's completely transformed your life and got you out of that, that funk, I suppose, you were in at that time, and you were really low point. And she showed you that there was another way out and gave you the strength to carry on, which is amazing. And because of
Yeah.
that, you've now touched thousands of people's lives and helped them succeed in their businesses, which must just feel incredible.
Do you know what? I don't really think about it until moments like this. Like yesterday, I was catching up on your podcast, which is obviously awesome, and listening to your first couple of guests. And both of, I don't know if it was two or actually three of the guests, I had a feeling that maybe they had connected with people, or had, grew their business in some way, shape, or form, because of a company that I ran. And I think you don't realize until you stop and think, how many people you do impact. And if I'm honest, one person for me would have been enough. As a kid, if I'd have got asked what I wanted to do, I wanted to change the world, but I'd have been happy with one person. And, being able to have supported the amount of people that I have just blows my mind. And I think it is actually really quite nice for me. I don't do many podcasts. So to be able to sit and, think about what are we going to talk about and to listen to other people's stories, to know that, sometimes we don't even realize we're making an impact. I think that's the beauty of, what we do in business. The fact that we show up just inspires other people in itself, and you have an impact that you're totally unaware of, like the woman in the food bank. She will never know how touched I was by what she said and how that impacted me. And still to this day, it blows my mind, to think that I've had the opportunity to help so many people, and to, every day, like I forget, every day I show up, I share stuff to social media, whether that's my personal stuff that I'm going, naked beaches or off wild camping with my kids. I get messages about that, with people messaging me and saying, oh my God, like, you inspire me. I can't believe how brave you are. I wish I could do that. And I'm like, what do you mean you wish you could do that? Go and do it. And and that's, for me, I think we all influence people in different ways. We all have an impact on people in different ways. And I think the easiest way for us all to be able to do that is to just be nice to each other, because you never actually know how important what you're saying to somebody is. That little moment of kindness that, you won't even think about again, to somebody
Hmm.
else, can mean so much. So, yeah, I think that's,
100%.
it's really
I
important.
think the biggest thing for me, and I say this to myself all the time, I'm always reminding myself of this, is that you never know what is going on in that person's life. You
Yeah.
can never see behind that facade that we all wear when we're having difficult times. Um, and if someone's, a bit snappy with you one day, or they toot their horn when they're driving, these little acts that can sort of turn you on the kilter for that day, you don't know what's happening to them to have made them feel that way and act that way on that day. They might be the loveliest person in the world normally, but they're going through something. And I just think as a community, we just need to be a little bit less judgmental and a little bit more forgiving and just be kind. It's all
Yeah.
about just being kind. And like you say, we all have to always be aware of what we say because people are listening. I think this all the time with my daughter as well. You know, she is always watching and always listening. It's really important that we portray who we really want to be and what we want them to learn.
Especially, with so much stuff on social media, people can speak so easily and not be held accountable. And I think people feel, a lot braver when they are, not face to face with someone. So sometimes things can be said, things are said, and I think it's that side of things as well, seeing things on social media. It's not just the face to face stuff, being kind. It's, the things that we share, the opinions that we share. Do you really need to write that comment? That's where I'm at. I just see so much hatred and nastiness on social media. It just makes me, it still blows my mind.
So how do you deal with that though? Because obviously your business and your world a lot of the time is on social media. You know, you've built your business around Instagram. So how have you stayed with the passion of helping people on those platforms when you are seeing such negativity on there? You know, how is that not you've held that from impacting you personally?
I think for me, it's because I want to make a difference. And I think if I decided, okay, yes, every single social media platform we use, there is going to be negativity. But I think that's where first of all, you limit your time. If you're going on there and you're having a negative experience when you're, using socials for whatever reason, limit your time on there. Yes, most people do have to use them for work and business purposes, but go on, do what you need to do and come off. If you're seeing things that are making you feel shit about yourself, block the accounts. Nobody notices. I think people worry too much about what other people think. And what's most important is you and what you think. And there are ways that you can limit the sort of stuff that you're seeing. Now, don't get me wrong, I have been helping a parent campaign for almost the last 2 years now because social media companies will not take responsibility for the content that is shared online. And so, to a certain degree, they are fully in control of what you see. However, as adults, we can take back some of that control. Mute the accounts that you don't want to see. If you see something that is making you, not feel happy, get rid of it. There are ways that you can do that. For me, taking little digital detoxes, going off to the woods and, talking to the sheep with no Wi-Fi. For me, that's really needed because even as much as I've now streamlined what I do to make sure my social media experience is as positive as possible, I still see shit. I still see, I live in a bubble. I don't watch the news and, all of these things, which sometimes I have no choice. When I'm, scrolling socials for work purposes, things are going to pop up. So even unintentionally, I'm seeing the stuff I don't want to see sometimes. So for me, taking a bit of time out is really, really important. And I think that's what makes me passionate and that's what makes me want to help more people because you don't have to feel overwhelmed by social media. You don't have to be on social media 24 hours a day to make your business successful. And I know that. So if I can teach other people that and avoid them being on social media for hours upon end, consuming this horrible negative content that nobody wants to see, then why would I not? And it's a challenge, but a challenge that I'm enjoying, taking on.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And that's a really good lesson that people don't realize is actually, you know, you might appear in my feed multiple times in one of my social media sessions. And I might think, oh my God, Estelle is always on Instagram. You know, she's never off. But actually, yeah, it's so far from the truth. But it's about utilizing the tools, the scheduling tools, and all of that that's there in the background that a lot of people I don't think are aware of. And they think to be as successful and visible as you and I are on social media, they need to be on there constantly, and that's just not the truth, is it?
No, definitely not. It's all around planning and strategy for me. This is something that so many of my clients will come to me with. It's either there's usually three categories they will fall into. They have lack of time, lack of inclination, or lack of knowledge. So they are usually like one of the three reasons they come to me. So the lack of time, for me, it's about teaching them different techniques, like you say, using scheduling, bulk creating, brainstorming all of your content. There's lots of different things that you don't know unless you know. I can help them with the knowledge side of things. And when it comes to the inclination, some people are kind of like, well, actually, I don't really see the point. I don't want to be on Instagram. They know that they should be, but for them, it's just, it's another social media platform. So sometimes it's actually about educating them right from the beginning, like you say, about it doesn't take, hours upon hours a day. Yes, you do have to put the effort in, which I think is massive for me as, somebody who works in Instagram consulting, because people come to me and I have to manage their expectations. So, they'll come to me and they want 10,000 followers and they want to make like 15 grand in sales this month. And I'm like, okay, then what have we got to work with? And they're like, well, I post on Instagram once a month and I can't remember my password. And I'm like, this doesn't happen overnight, and that's another thing that, is important for me to stress to people that, you won't have overnight success with Instagram. You might, don't get me wrong. You may put one reel out there and, it's going to go absolutely viral. Your business will blow up. It will be in all the press and the media. And, Instagram will have changed your life. However, for most people, it's a journey. It's, putting these steps in place to then reach their end goal and maintaining that so that then they don't have to go back to ground zero, which most people kind of, they lose interest. They don't post anything, and that's where their love of Instagram then just dies because they're just not seeing that return on investment.
Yeah, I think it is a patience game with social media, isn't it? For sure. When you're starting out, you need to be working very consistently, like you say. And I think there's I don't know if it's the same for Instagram actually, but I know for Facebook and things, you feel like you're speaking to the void for a good while, but as long as you stick with it, suddenly you just seem to like free fall over the end of the mountain, and the snowball effect, and things just, it's like the platform itself has picked you up and started showing you to the world. Is it the same on Instagram like that?
It is very similar. However, I would probably go with the like a little bit of a different approach in the fact that, people are going to see your content. They need to see your content multiple times before they're going to buy a product or service from you. They need to know what they're investing in. So, they're not just going to go and throw, £100 at somebody who has popped up on their feed once. Okay, that, their ad might look interesting, or, but they're gonna start thinking, well, do I trust this person? And that's where, like you say, this kind of strategic step-by-step approach where you're consistently sharing content is, that's the way that it happens. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a long period of time. And I can guarantee anybody who buys a product or service off you, if you ask them, did you buy this product or service the first time you saw it? They're probably going to say no. They're going to have been recommended by somebody else. They're going to have seen some content on Facebook, maybe. If they've engaged in that, they may then see stuff on Instagram. Then they're going to see more of your stuff on Instagram because they're engaging with you. So, yes, it does work in a cycle. The more people engage with you on Instagram, the more Instagram will show your content to other people. However, I do think it's that drip feed also that you need to be showing up. People need to be seeing that they can trust you, that you do know what you're talking about, that you have the results there for people to see. And then they will trust you enough to buy a product or service.
Yeah. It's all about that know, like, and trust, isn't it? And I think the stat now is that people have to see things on average about 27 times. You have to come into their
Wow.
space before they're ready to buy. Yeah. I think with the cost of living crisis and everything else that's going on in the UK at the moment, people are really tight with their money, and we're having to work a lot harder, aren't we, to unlock those sales. So I think the consistency is key. And like you mentioned earlier, if you falter, if you go on holiday for a week and you don't post for that week, everything just crashes back down. You know, you have to be consistent continuously for a long time for it to really keep that momentum, and then you can afford to have the odd break, I think. But in those early days, it really is about consistency. And again, that's where the scheduling tools and repurposing of content can be really beneficial.
Oh, 100%. And for anybody that's, thinking about using Instagram marketing or is using Instagram marketing and is thinking, oh my God, I've got to show up every day. I don't have enough content. First of all, I can help you with that. However, the top tip that I would give you when it comes to this is Instagram stories. It takes literally minutes to share an Instagram story. So if you are doing nothing else to show up consistently, as often as possible, Instagram stories take 5 minutes. Just share something there if you don't even have time to post anything else.
So that's really interesting. So are you saying that you don't need to be focusing on your page and, the static ads as well? It can just be the stories is enough to at least keep the consistency there through that period.
Okay, so the way that I would explain this is your static posts are going to be showed mainly to your followers and potentially a few other people outside of your following. That's if they are scrolling through the main feed. Now, I don't know about you and what sort of content you like to consume. For me, it's stories. I don't always have time to scroll, to watch videos. I just want to tap through and I want to see the content from the people that I'm most interested in. Now, the content in your main feed, like I said, is going to be kind of shown to a small group of people and maybe a few other people outside of that. Your reels are, now when I say this, there's been massive changes lately. So I don't want to kind of go off on it. I don't want to go off on a tangent. However, up until this point, Instagram Reels have been the quickest, best way for you to reach a wider audience. Now, that's fantastic if you want to reach a wider audience. However, with the changes that are being brought in, there are chances now that your Reels are not going to be seen by as many people as before. So, for example, I had less than 10,000 followers. One of my reels got 45,000 views. So it just goes to show the sort of level of, visibility it gives you using Instagram Reels. However, Instagram stories are shown to people who already follow you. So these are people who are already interested in your account, in what you have to do. Like they're there and they're warm and ready for you to share stuff with them. They're not random. They're not coming to your account for the first time because they've picked up on a reel, that's been on the explore page. So for me, sometimes it's actually more valuable for you to focus your time on Instagram stories because those people are there. They already kind of see your content. They're already following you. And not only that, Instagram give you tons of different ways that you can get people engaging with you inside stories. So rather than, we have the poll option on the main feed, and obviously you can ask a question in the text, but inside stories, there's probably 6, 7, 8 different stickers that you can use to encourage people to get involved. So, for example, the sliding emoji sticker. Every time somebody engages with your content, it flags up to Instagram that this is a good piece of content. And then, like you say, it then snowballs. So when it comes to Instagram stories, your audience are already there and interested. There's loads of tools that you can use to get them engaging. And if you use the tool strategically, you can then really delve into who your clients are and actually even create warm leads that you can follow up with straight away in DMs of people who are genuinely interested in what you are selling.
I love that. So the stories are helping you with that 27 touch points. They're people that have already taken an
Yes,
interest, they've come into your world, but they're still, need that know, like, and trust sensibility, and they can use the stories to do that and to get that interaction. But a reel is more to bring more people into your world. Those cold leads, start bringing them into
yes,
that space. I love
yes.
that. That's a really interesting way of breaking it down, and I'm sure really useful for people. So I was actually going to ask you your top 3 tips, and I feel like you've kind of already shared that with us, but is there any other, like, very, basic, if someone's just about to start out on Instagram, what you would share with them?
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you something really basic that hopefully, even if you're not starting out and you are already using Instagram, hopefully this tip will be one that you can go and put into place straight away. And of course, like I've been talking about, it doesn't take forever. I like to share quick, simple, easy to implement tips because ain't nobody got time to be on social media when we can be out wild camping with a beer. So, if you go to your bio, which is the top part of your account, there's a button that says edit profile. Now, in there, it will ask for your name. So, most people will put their name or the name of their business, which is, kind of common sense to do. However, the words that you put there will bring you up in searches. So mine has recently changed. So prior to, a couple of weeks ago, mine said Instagram expert and speaker. The reason that it said that in the name section was because those words are going to bring me up in more searches than somebody searching Estelle Keeber. So anytime anybody searched Instagram expert speaker, my account would then come up. Now, I've had to change this recently because I've become verified and they will not let you have any name there aside from your own name. So I've had to change it and it is Estelle Keeber now. So for anybody that goes and checks and thinks, well, why has she not got that? That is the reason. That is the reason behind that. And like, that's probably a really good point to make that if you are verified, this won't work for you. You have to have your name. However, if you're not verified, go to your profile, go to name, think of words that your ideal clients are searching for on Instagram. What words are they looking for? And add those into the name bit. Make sure they kind of make sense. We don't want just some random words in there. Like I said, mine said Instagram expert and speaker. So it still explains who I am. However, it just brings in those words that my ideal clients are going to be searching for. So, a simple tip that every single person can go and do today, and let me know. Screenshot it, share it to your Instagram stories, a before and after. Remember, it's those 27 touch points. Get some Instagram
Yeah.
stories shared.
I love that. And that's a really great way to, when you're in the building stage of your business, isn't it? So you've gone through that period, you've built your business and now you're verified. So you sort of, you don't need that tool as much now. You are already verified and you've got that awareness of
No,
your brand. But prior to
no.
that,
So again, things change so rapidly, and I know, one of your questions I think is about the challenges that I face, and I think with social media changing so rapidly, especially Instagram, it's very very difficult to stay on top of everything. That's why I try and give daily tips out so that people don't feel overwhelmed, so that they can kind of feel that they're being given the information that they need without having all the other stuff coming in at the same time. So last year, Instagram verification, in fact, yes, last year and prior to that, Instagram verification was for people who were becoming verified, who were an expert in their business, in their niche. It would, for you to become verified, you would have to have pieces of press. They would need to be able to pretty much Google you and find out, that you've had different articles and publications. So it was more for your kind of like celebrities and like really quite, professional people within their field. However, now it is not like that anymore. You can simply pay to become verified. So for me, it wasn't a vanity metric. I didn't want the blue tick because I want the blue tick to be a Estelle Keeber blue tick. I wanted to be verified because Instagram offer you additional levels of support with the verification. Now you do have to pay for this, and I shared a reel, I think last week about the fact that Instagram are bringing in all of these pay to play features, which, I'm totally against, if I'm honest. I am here trying to support small business owners in using what was a free marketing tool. And all of a sudden, Instagram are now hitting us with all of these different charges. So you can apply to be verified. It costs, I think, $12.99 a month. And with that, you then get additional support. If anything happens to your account, you can message Instagram and you'll get a quicker response than you would do if you weren't.
yeah, you kind of have that direct connection. So you mentioned there about the challenges you face and obviously keeping up with the changes must be a huge one. And but by you doing that, that's saving all of us having to do that. So thank you for that, Estelle. But what other
You're welcome.
challenges have you faced as your business has grown? Because, like we mentioned earlier, we have been in business quite a while now, and your business has grown and grown. What sort of challenges have you faced, and pain points, and how have you overcome them?
Oh, I think there's so many. When you think about the sort of different stages that you go through in business, I think with each level is a new devil. I think is that the way to word it. I think it doesn't matter where you're at in business. There's always going to be something that is going to be challenging for you. For me, I think probably one of my biggest challenges was finding the balance. So I was so focused on doing the things I needed to do, I actually forgot about why I was doing them. And this had an impact on my health, my mental health, my relationships. And I think that probably was my biggest challenge in understanding it's about working smarter and not harder.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I've spoken about this before on the podcast, but actually, we all go into business for a specific reason. And 90% of the time, it's that we want a better quality of life. We want to be more in control of our time. But as our businesses grow, we all lose sight of that. You get sort of wrapped up in it all, and you're constantly pushing for more and more and more. And sometimes it does take a while till you get to a sort of burnout stage that you think, God, I've really lost sight of the purpose of all of this, and you have to really reel it back in. And it is a constant battle to make sure that you're keeping that balance and making sure that it's not overtaking your life, because none of us go into self-employment to lose our personalities and become the business. It's all about keeping that balance. And so you think have you found the way now you're doing that, or are you constantly having to be aware of that, like you say?
I think I slip back occasionally, when things get exciting, when something's launching, when, like there's a big batch of speaking events, all of a sudden this sensible balance that I had does go out of the window. But it's never as bad as it was, because I do fully understand now the value of, taking the time for myself and having that balance. Because if you don't have that balance, you cannot steer the ship. The ship cannot be steered without a captain. So you need to take care of yourself so that you can then, and that sounds so cliche, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. But you can't take care of other people or run a business if you are not in tip top form yourself. So it's not selfish, taking time out for whatever you want to do for yourself, whether that's binging Netflix or going for a walk. Each to their own. Find something that you enjoy doing, and make sure that you are taking time for that, because it's those periods of reset and time out when you kind of get all of the good ideas, because you're giving yourself a rest. You're coming back into your business with a fresh approach, with new eyes, and with invigorated, because you have had that break. So it's really important. And yes, I do still slip, but I am working on it and doing reasonably well.
Well, you found quite a unique way, I suppose, and you really do give yourself the space when you do it, because you are now massively into hiking and sleeping under the stars. And I'm constantly seeing pictures of you up some crazy mountain with literally no one or nothing in sight. So you really do give yourself that space. But it's so important. And I love that you
Keep
found that for you
myself
and that it
sick.
works for you. Uh,
I think it's for me as well. I'm not a massive people person, so being a part of society on a day-to-day basis, I'm very empathetic. I take on a lot of other people's energies, and it can be really quite stressful for me just to exist. And I can hear myself saying this and thinking, oh my god, Estelle, what are you saying? But it's I find it draining. And this is why I surround myself with people that are really good for my soul, because 90% of the people in the world are not. So I surround myself with these people that are amazing, and bring the most amazing good stuff to my life and help me feel better. And when I can't be around those people, yes, I do run off and go climb mountains. I go camp, and I think it's just time. Not I don't even think it's time away. I think it's connecting with nature. I think it's appreciating having time to appreciate the things we take for granted. The kettle, for example, when I go camping, I have a little stove. I have to make my own hot water. And as simple as that is, it's just like, all of the things we take for granted at home. It gives us time to just sit back and think, actually, I am so grateful for all of the things that I have. And if you can't find anything to be grateful of, just listen to the bird song.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Oh, Estelle, you're painting such a picture. I love it. I do love it.
It
And I
wasn't
think
such a pretty picture when I got flooded out. Let's
I was
keep it
well,
real. I'm,
I
I'm
was
all about
literally
the
about to say,
reality.
yeah,
Yes,
I
it
was
was it was a
literally
bad
about to say,
time.
this time of year, I can see the attraction, in the sun shining and it's going to be really beautiful. But you haven't given up all through the seasons you've been there, haven't you? And I think you're very brave. I'm not so sure I'd be keen being stuck up a mountain in a thunderstorm or whatever else you've been facing.
I think again, like anything, like in life and business, if it doesn't kill you, it will only make you stronger, and it builds character and all of those good things. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
and it
think
gives you
it's
stories.
definitely good for my soul.
Yeah, I love that. So, you've given us lots of advice now, which has been amazing. I would like to ask you, what's the best piece of advice you have ever been given?
Oh, this is a really tricky one. I wasn't expecting this question. I am given lots of advice all the time. I don't know what would be the best bit of advice. I think probably staying in your lane and keeping your focus on you is probably the best bit of advice, because we are so distracted. There's a million things happening all the time, whether that's on social media, in life, in general. There's so many things that are trying to pull our attention away from where it should be. And so I think, staying in your lane, staying focused on what's important to you, what your end goals are, is probably the best advice that I've been given.
Yeah, and it's just such a powerful one. And it goes across no matter what size of business you are, what industry you are in, you need to just focus on yourself and stop. Because I see this so often that people compare themselves to other businesses in the industry. One business, their business might be brand new or in their first year, and they're trying to compare themselves to a business that's been running a decade. It's that you can't compare to that, and then they get such negative feelings around that. And I just say, just focus on yourself. Just look at what you are wanting to achieve. Keep your balance and stay focused. And don't worry about all the rest of the noise, because that is all it is. Comparing ourselves to each other, don't we? And it's such a bad trait to have.
I think again it's made worse by social media. Prior to social media, if the bakery was doing well, you'd walk past the bakery and you'd see, all of the people queuing outside the bakery and everybody saying how amazing the bakery was. There was no faking that the cobs at the bakery were pants. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now with social media, it's very hard to, like you say, we are all guilty at some point of, putting that veil up of not being 100% truthful about, a bad situation that we're potentially in, because for whatever reason that is, vulnerability, feeling that you've let people down, all of those things. What you see on social media is a snippet. It is a filtered snippet of real life. And I think that makes it incredibly hard for people, especially when they are going through stages in their business where they're comparing themselves to other people. I think we all need to remember that, don't buy into everything you see on social media. It is a snippet of life with a big fat filter stuck on top of it, just for good measure.
Yeah, it so is. And this is one of the main reasons I wanted to launch this podcast, is because you only ever see the perfect, shiny, successful businesses on social media. You never see the undercurrent of the tough days and, the dark times and the questioning of ourselves that we all do. And that's, 100% why I wanted to do this and share those stories. And this leads very nicely into my last question, Estelle, which is, have you ever wanted to quit?
Most definitely. I definitely didn't even need to think about that one. I think there is not going to be a business owner that will honestly tell you they have not had a day when they've wanted to quit. And, for most of us, it's not a whole, quit. I've like, that's it, I'm walking away, because we've invested a lot of time. But there are days when it becomes so challenging that, you're faced with something and you just think, you know what, this is really, really hard. I don't know if I can do this. But we get up the next day and we go again. So yes, I've wanted to quit. Have I ever? Hell no, definitely not.
I think there's been so many days through my journey that I've said to myself, God, it'd be so much easier if I just went and got a job, just went and got employed. It would be so much easier, but I don't think I could ever do that again. And I'm pretty confident that you would say the same. So it's just, it's not in
I
our
don't think
nature now,
anyone
is
would be
it?
able to handle me. I don't think there's
Or
many
that,
bosses
yeah,
out there that
exactly.
would be able to handle my sass, if I'm honest. It's probably
Yeah.
best I say self-employed for everybody if I'm being honest with myself.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Estelle, for coming on today, being so honest, and also explaining some of the elements of Instagram that can really help business owners, because social media can be such a complicated or confusing space for business owners. So just having those very simple steps that we can follow, I'm sure will be a huge help to the audience. So thank you for coming along. And I want to say thank you to the audience as well for joining us again. I hope they found it as beneficial as I know I have. I'm going to go away and check what my name on my Instagram account is right now.
Tag me
And yeah,
at Estelle Keeber Official. I want to see you on there, Claire.
I will. I will go and have a look now. But yeah, thank you so much. And to all the listeners, I will speak to you next week. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, which was brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. If you're running a small business and you're dreaming big, then Xero is here to help make those dreams a reality. Xero is all about supporting women like you, who are not just running businesses, but are also changing the game. So whether you're just starting out or you're scaling up, join a global community of female founders who trust Xero to manage their finances efficiently. Just visit refer.xero.com/female founders to learn more. But for now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this episode with all the incredible female founders you know. And together, let's change what it means to be a female founder in today's world.